Are you a leader or aspiring to be? A seasoned entrepreneur or making your first steps? Purpose-driven or seeking purpose? Chipata City, the first ever relevant summit, is coming under the theme Exploring Possibilities. This event is aimed at equipping leaders, raising entrepreneurs, and pursuing purpose. Book your seat now. Come ready to network and listen to seasoned leaders and entrepreneurs from Chipata and around the country, like Reverend Bruce Msidi, lead pastor of Mount Zion Christian Center and thought leader based in Lusaka. Mercy Chisi, a multi-award-winning woman entrepreneur, including the 2022 ABSA Women in Business Entrepreneur of the Year Award, and owner of MC Sangwani General Dealers based in Petaoke. Sande Silungwe, co-founder of Good Nature Agro, a legume seed and commodity business based in Chipata but operates across Zambia and Malawi. Other speakers are industry leaders in botany, investments, marketing, fintech, insurance, and financial advisory. This event will be held on Saturday, August 20th from 9 a.m. to 16 hours at the Protea Hotel.
Awesome. So thank you very much, Sandy. It's been good. So the next speaker that I'm inviting is a man that I've gotten to know as a brother, but he's also the man that's hosting this event. This man is gifted with an understanding of investments and getting funding and the like. Please help me welcome Changwe to just come and...
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm pretty sure you're tired of seeing me. But this time I come for a different reason. This time I'm coming to equip you rather than run a program. So I'm very happy, I'm very enthused, I feel very blessed to share this platform. But I feel very privileged to actually share what the knowledge I've acquired over a long period of time, to help equip people. I love the fact that Mercy came back to give a plug on places where you can find like money, and places where places where you can find investments that look at different stages of your business. So just a little backdrop about myself. I'm a Lusaka boy, very much so. And in all candor, I'm one of those individuals sometimes who feels kind of lost, in the sense that I lived half of my life, like in Zambia, and then relocated to the United States, where I lived the other half of my life. Again, when you are a child, you just follow instruction. The Bible says obey. So I did not want to go to the United States at all. It's only because, being the firstborn, I had to go join my father that was working in the airlines there. I had a preference to go play soccer at the time. I saw myself as a future Man U during the Beckham era. I saw myself as a young talent, that could win more trophies for Sir Alex Ferguson. That dream did not realize, but I stand here as an expert. I'm very good at what I do. And I don't like sometimes like showing CVs and stating those things. I think in the spirit of learning, I think it's important that we have confidence in who we are, and we have confidence also. Thank you so much. We have confidence in our abilities. It's good to learn. It's good to know. My presentation is on investments. So if you are a business, it doesn't matter what level of business you are, whether you're a startup or you are a growth business, that they call emergent in the investments world, or you're a mature business, like a Coca-Cola, like every single one of these businesses needs an investment in it. You understand it? Every single business needs an investment. I will define, like investments in my presentation. I will tell you what I get paid to do now. I'm not an entrepreneur. Of the whole list, I'm the only one who's not an entrepreneur. Although I have tried entrepreneurship in two fronts. But anyways, to be a lesson in point. So just real quick in terms of like what qualifies me to stand here. I was fortunate enough to, like pursue my passion in terms of schooling. I've always been passionate about finance and always been passionate about economics. Why those two areas? It just so happened that I was one of those kids who watched a lot of television, and I did not spill water on the television. When watching, my parents used to make me watch the news with them, and I hated it. I don't know if you know that Eagle song from the ZMBC. Back in the day, it was just terrible. So I want to speak now, like on those three things that I talked about, like number one, savings. I'll just define these things as I would see them. Savings is putting money away now for the future. 12 what? Putting money away now for the future. But savings should have a purpose. You just don't save anyhow. You need to know that I'm saving for X, Y, or Z. Otherwise, what happens is when you don't have that goal, when things pop up, you end up using your savings on things that they were not intended to be spent on. And if I was to, throw this question back to the audience, and if you're just really honest, how many of us actually have, do a personal budget for the year and review monthly? Just show of hands. No, yeah, show of hands. Yeah. Or who at minimum does at least a monthly budget? Yes, there we go. I knew you'd do something. Those budgets are so important. I borrowed this term from Sunday because he likes saying it a lot. Vane. Your personal budget dictates what activities should be conducted in that month or not conducted at all. And things about budgets is that you need to factor in what we call contingencies. In your business, you need to factor in contingencies. What will happen is, you're budgeting on the exchange rate of 15 kwacha. And then the economy, goes belly up, and the price moves to, exchange rate to the dollar moves to 20 kwacha. And businesses do this beautiful term that we call pass-through cost. It will pass through the business and go back to you as the customer, which then in turn becomes the increment in the price. I used to use Nivea lotion. Anyone use Nivea lotion? I said used to. It used to be 85 kwacha. I moved from 85 to 105. And from 105 it moved to 110. And I realized I had a dent in my budget. And from 105 it went to 139. So then I decided, okay, fine, I'll keep the brand Nivea, but I'm going to move from, what do they call that thing again? Yeah. So I was going to move again from the Nivea, to the less one, the one that says fresh something. And I realized it was water. Smooth on the skin, but bad for breath. But meanwhile, I can tell you, for me, I'm just looking at percentage increments. Because I'm looking at, what's the percentage increment of that? What's the percentage increment of that? I'm not an accountant at all. But because I monitor these things, I found myself in charge of budgets in 3 different organizations I worked for, but I'm not part of the accounting department. Why? Because I follow budgets to the T. Some people wonder, hey brother, you're still wearing that same shirt. The answer is that it's not yet time. It's not yet time. May I buy things on special? The off season. And the funny thing is, I've got the money to buy it. I've got the money to buy it. But just because of the principles that I've built in myself, because I know my savings, have to achieve a certain end. So, please, in your businesses, in your personal lives, save, which is one of the 3 pillars to greatness, financial freedom, right? Savings, investments, and resources. So I'll move a little bit quicker. Investments. I love investments. You guys, like, I remember when FNB said, oh yeah, you know, you've been charged your investments. I was excited. And then I got into the system. And I was like, man, these guys are talking about fixed deposits, savings accounts. Like this is, you know, like, yeah, they're part of investments, you know, because in the picture there's deposits there. But I'm like, where are the options, where are the futures, you know, where are we at? So I was so confused. So I got a hold of the Securities Exchange Commission. I tried to do my final thesis on them, but they were very unresponsive. And the Lusaka Stock Exchange market is very unique to itself, because you can't short a stock. Let me not sound really smart. Basically, when you throw a stone up, according to the Lusaka Exchange Commission, the stone won't come down. Meaning that I can't bet against organizations for them not meeting their financial obligations for the year. And that's unrealistic. You know, investments are like gravity, right? You need to have the smart ones, the non-smart ones, because that's how you win and lose. It's the same pool. It's like a balloon. When you squeeze it in one end, the volume goes to the other side. It's still the same amount of volume in terms of air. So investments are important. Natural resources. Resources, which is the third pillar. Every nation needs resources. Every business needs resources. So in this instance, I'm just giving an example of natural resources. Natural resources is symbolic of the raw material, the supply, right? Then you need people, and the right people. You can be the visionary of the business, but not really the manager. You need to be realistic as business owners, where you are the expert and where you're the consultant. I am not an engineer. That doesn't exclude me from owning an engineering company. It's about the opportunities, it's about the niche. But I need to have enough understanding for and about the business, and I need to know where the expertise comes in terms of being the expert as opposed to being the consultant. One person told me this in giving me an example about business. Actually, one of my professors. He was a Christian man because I went to a Jesuit school. He told me, you don't make the grumpy guy the church greeter. He still loves the Lord, he's just a grumpy guy. Because you're creating brand equity. You're creating an environment where people feel comfortable. There's nothing that secludes them from being, like the usher. The last one that collects the cash to take it upstairs to be counted. But you're just putting people to where their personal strengths are and where it wouldn't mess, like the flow or perception of your business, because perception is reality. So resources are important and technology is important. Mercy alluded to this. Cash is one form of payment, but it's not the only one. I fail to understand how businesses before, would refuse to have point-of-sale machines and, accept other forms of payment, because to me that was extremely difficult, because I'm like, well, I'll spend more if I had the ability to do that. I can tell you this project that we did. How many of you swipe at filling stations around the country? Okay. Should I tell you that I was part of the group that actually introduced that in Zambia? Being able to swipe at filling stations in the country. Even with my children, I failed to convince any filling station owner to use the point-of-sale machines at their filling stations. Why? Because they make 33 in weight profit per liter, and the 2% or 0.9% charge equated to 3 in weight. And that 3 in weight is going to be an addition to another 2 in weight that they calculate as what they call spillage. Along the way, it evaporates, stored, such that it's total 5 in weight. So we managed to convince one filling station company, to do it based in Ndola. So it's part of the Somali community. He grew his numbers, the volumes went up, people began to notice. The other Somali community joined on the bandwagon. Numbers and volume started to move. Engine started to notice. Before we knew it, we signed up the whole engine for the country. But again, that's part of the journey of being an entrepreneur. When you have a roadblock in one place, don't give up. Go around the system, or go parallel to the system. Know how to convert, know how to convert pretty much, your transition your business from being like a partner, being a customer to competition. Especially if something you're passionate about, learn enough about it so that you move from being a customer to competition. Something that I do at all the organizations, and I think, is how can I get us into partnerships or JVs that are documented, really good, that protect us and protect them with exit strategies, and that are able to, help us grow. So, team, I think what I'll do now is I'll just speak about being investment ready. I'll just talk about things that investors look at. So, just by definition, being investment ready means that potential investors, that means people with money, governments, banks, or lenders believe that you're worth investing in and that you are ready for the next step. So there's two key things there. They believe that you are worth investing in, right? There's belief. And then the next thing is that you are ready for the next step. No one is going to invest in your business if you're going to be on the same level. No one. Even grants, which is, there's no such thing as a free lunch, but even grants, they don't want to give you a grant for you to be on the same level. No one will do that. No one. Which means you have to find your niche in your space. So in moving forward again, what investors look for. I've been an investor myself. Immediately after I graduated, I had a good job offer, but then I told myself, let me try this consulting gig for a little while. And it was a shift. I did it for 2 years. And that's where I learned all the skills. I remember moving from $20 an hour to $200 an hour. And I was still the cheapest in terms of consulting work in the investment world. And then I told myself, I'm like, you know what? I need to create my brand. You guys don't know how, there's challenges everywhere. I just gave you brief examples. I was the only black guy. I had to put my degrees everywhere, your name, all these other things, just for people to look at you as half a person, you know what I mean? But then, at the end of the day, even your hater will not argue against your output. Output matters. It has no race, it has no color, it has no preference. Your output matters, especially when there's quality. So again, what investors look for? They look for impact. What solution, what problems are you solving? Does it align with their beliefs? Who are the beneficiaries or beneficiary groups of that impact? What's your market share? And what is it going to move to? Which means you need to know. What's your brand equity? What's your brand? Because sometimes one associates with other people because they've got a strong brand. And sometimes one associates with other organizations because they've got a strong brand. Investors look at returns. They'll look at what's my cash on cash investment. What's my NPV, which is my net present value, meaning if I give you money today, and then over a period of X number of years or months, what's that value going to be today? If you take that profit and bring it back to today, they'll look at your internal rate of return, they'll look at interest, they'll look at all these other aspects. Other things that people look at is social impact. What are the social returns? Like, what are you doing for, like the youth? What are you doing for, like, gender, in terms of, like, women or marginalized and all these other things? So investors will look at these things. Do not be fooled. I know because I've done it. And I've spoken to the best, fund managers in the country, where fund managers bragging that, I know, I've got a 5% return for the year. Meanwhile, there's a marketeer here in Kapata. She says she sells tomatoes and she gets more than 5%. Return for the year, and yet we celebrate the fund manager, right? I think Africans who live under $1 a day are among the best entrepreneurs on this planet. The problems that we don't document it well, and the problems that we look down on that gift and that craft, when it should be celebrated, should be studied, it should be put out to the world. Because I'm tired of reading Harvard business reviews of how Southwest made it, when I can read about, Vanamayo, How they take things from one level to the next. Oh, sorry, echelon to the next. So the type of investments, I'm going to really sweep through this. There's the friends and family investors. Listen, if you've got a good idea, do not be afraid to, share your idea with your friends and your family. That's typically the safest, because they'll give you the most honest opinions. But those opinions, sometimes you also need to filter. Because my younger sister, anything I do, she hates. It doesn't matter what I do, but secretly, she supports. You understand that? So sometimes I need to go talk to her friends to find out what she really thinks. But friends and family will typically give you the first level of support. In fact, Good Nature Agro grew literally on friends and supports initially. Then you have angel investors. Angel investors are investors who are usually not in your circle of friends and influence, but then these are people who, believe hey, how do we give back to the community? How do we help a startup move to emerging? How do we help emerging move to growth company? So angel investors are very important, and we need angel investors. Please, team, this section of people are very thin, you understand that, even in our society. But angel investment doesn't need a big mutual fund. Sometimes it just needs 500 kwacha. Go to the market. You'll be surprised some of the investments they need 200 kwacha. And my brother, I applaud you for 2% interest. That's amazing. So then there's grant investors. There's grants that you have to have matching funds, and there's grants where there's no matching funds, meaning you don't need to put a stake in it. There's so many grants out there. Please, you guys, because I understand their language, me have gotten grants without even having a business. Who's head of Prospero? Yeah, Prospero gave me 1 million kwacha. I did not even do one work. All I did was just wrote the proposal. All right? I don't mean that in a bragging way, but I'm just saying, when you do your research, you know exactly what to do. Because I knew that fund was for startups, so they didn't need the 2 years requirement. They just needed to see, is there governance? Is there clear, plan for them to succeed? What do they want to do? What do they want to do, and all this stuff? So there's plenty of grants out there. Please just Google grants. It doesn't matter whether you're a business. Even Good Nature Agro, if I may share, our revenue was $5.8 million. But even that, our grant revenue was about 700,000 USD. And we use that for research and development, nothing else. Because we're not going to be Kodak, we're not going to be Then there's venture capitalists. We don't have much of that here, but they are growing. If you think of the companies like Kukula Capital, that's what they are trying to grow to be. In the venture capitalist space, Pangea. Then you have mutual funds. In Zambia, we don't really, we can do more in terms of the mutual fund space. You have micro lenders that we're all aware of, except that most of them are very aggressive. Then you've got the banks. So all I want to say to all of you, as I just conclude, is there are many things that you can do to put your house in order to get all of the above in terms of these investors. So there's so much money out there. I lived in a town which was investment central. It was the town where Warren Buffett lived. In fact, I like to say I live 10 minutes away from Warren Buffett. But sometimes one road can be Baolini on one side, and the other side, Nyukasama. That's 10 minutes away. Amen. So put your house in order. And this is my encouragement to you. Number one is formalize your business with all relevant governing authorities. Do the PACA registrations. Be investment ready. Please, just formalize your business. Being a sole proprietor and using a personal account for everything, it is allowable, but it's not best practice. Especially if you want to go from this level to the next. The two is know your mission and vision, statement, and plan inside and out. I have spoken to powerful people where I was on the other side, and I'm whispering to my boss okay, I know this man is a wealthy, known man, but he doesn't really know his business. So I recommend that we don't go forth with an investment. So To be honest with you, people will tell whether you really know your stuff or you don't know your stuff. You walk into some rooms, then they ask you, what's your market share? What's your expected rate of return? See. Clearly document your business plan and strategy. You know, if it's whatever is not written, monitored, the measure doesn't get done. And you need to have a plan, because the plan does two things. It gives you direction, it also gives you systems. Prepare your pitch decks ready to share. Listen, a pitch deck is so important. An elevator speech, practice it all the time. You know, one of the things that I do, at least in my leadership, and I'm trying to get better, is I'm trying to build my teams where anyone in my team, if asked, hey, what's happening in your business? They can say, oh, you know, in this space this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened. And I try to build everyone up that way. Because I'm telling you, sometimes all you have is 3 minutes of someone's time. In that 3 minutes, do you have impact or not? What separates you from other people? I'm not really sure. No. Just practice your pitch deck. Timeline the current and next steps of your business growth. Listen, there's a thing called projections, financial projections. Those help guide you. But before you get to the numbers, have the plan. Today, I'm starting with 1 30-ton truck. Next year, I'm going to grow to 2 30-ton trucks. That's documenting your timelines. So please document your timelines, because that will dictate what your financial cash flows look like. Track all your financials and get accounts officially audited. Move on to it. A lot of people don't qualify for grants. Free money. Free money. Free money. Why? Because you just don't audit, you don't have your accounts audited. The accountants will even do it for 6 ZAD. And then there are firms like KPI, KPMG, where it's 60K. But just have them audited, because that sets you up, in terms of genuineness. And if you have to pay taxes, please pay taxes. I can promise you, some of the values as a Christian is if you do things in the dark, your business will remain in the dark. Do it in the light, your business will remain in the light. It's simple. You reap what you sow. So establish good governance and separation of duties. As an investor, I don't want to know that you're the accountant, you're the CEO, you're the ops, you are everything. Because you're both judge and jury. Not interested. Because there's no one who's going to keep you accountable for the decisions that are being made or protect my money and investment. Ensure you have good, SOPs, standard operating procedures. Sorry, it says standard, so standard operating procedures. Team, I have raised a lot of money, even here in Zambia. First of all, in my first month at FNB, I raised 150 million kwacha. Right? That's a bank. Yeah, whatever. But when it comes to raising money, even for organizations, during this COVID period and time where things are tough, I think by the end of this year, we're going to make what? We'll have raised at least over $12 million. Written grants where we've earned, almost $2 million. These are just grants. Free money. This, after I leave here, Pastor, he knows I'm going to write a grant worth 350,000 euro. But all this is public information. All I'm trying to say is that these things are there. All you have to do is do research, and maybe I'll start to post these things around. So data is king. Keep all your data. Make sure you use the right investments for the right milestones. Don't get a loan to start your business unless you know everything about it. Please. Start small, build up. Do not resent the days of small beginnings, which is the least favorite scripture in the Bible. I do not like it. But I know why. Because I'm too ambitious, and it humbles me. The last thing is, improve on your investor relations. listen, if you are shy and you keep to yourself and you think you're going to find investors out there, like they will just be looking because they're bored, you're lying to yourself. I remember someone telling me, I remember hearing Warren Buffett say this with my own ears. He says when he was younger, he had all the ideas, but no money. Now that he's old, he's got all the money, but no ideas. There are people who will follow you to say, hey, I've got money, please put your ducks in order. And if you do, I'll be able to give you all the funding that you need. So team, be creative in your funding. The banks are not the only source of funding. Please be creative. There's many grants out there that you don't need to pay back. And there's other, sources where the money is cheaper. Not all money is cheap in Zambia. It's very expensive. But you'll be surprised how many international banks want to give you money at a very low interest rate. So with that said, in the investments world, please invest in what you understand. Don't invest in things you don't. Thank you very much.
Wow. Relevant summit.
Yeah.
I'm sure by the time you're leaving, you know what it means to be relevant. It's properly loaded. So.